Welcome to Kidmissing TV. I am your host, Angelina Wilson. This is the case of the York County, or Biddeford, Maine, Jane Doe, who was an African-American female aged between 13 and 21. She was a child. Her postmortem interval was months up to 10 years. Her skull was found 10 to 15 feet from the shoreline wrapped in seaweed. She had a unique dentition because apparently either one or both of these things could be true. She had her care outside the U.S. or she was a tooth grinder. I'm a tooth grinder. Which doesn't do my sensitive jaw any bit of good. But anyway. Did I mention she was found July 25th, 2009? This Maine was a place where, for some inexplicable reason, our government decided that when we took in a bunch of Somali refugees, that they would settle them in Maine, of all places. I'm sorry, but why wouldn't you settle them in a climate closer to their own? As someone on Reddit pointed out, can you imagine going from the tropical, sub-Saharan climate of Somalia to Maine? Even if you're not from the U.S., you should know Maine is virtually an Arctic climate. I mean, it's from October until probably May, maybe even early June. Maine is cold. Way colder than anything these poor people have ever experienced. So why our government thought it would be a neat idea to house them in Maine is beyond me. How do I know Maine, you ask? Well, if you're not an original to this channel, you may not know this, but my mama was from Maine. And trust me, and my family in Maine have talked about, all the refugees that they've brought in, because they've brought them all the way up to middle Maine, not even just down on the coastline, like way up into middle Maine. Even colder, even less hospitable for someone who's from sub-Sahara. I'm sorry, but you couldn't put them in Florida or, the southern tip of the U.S., where at least the temperatures fit what they're used to. To me, it's almost torture to put these people in Maine, I feel bad for these people. Not only that, people in Maine haven't been the most receiving of them, from what I gather. And I feel bad for them. And I know our South is very prejudiced, and that's probably why they weren't put in the South, because they were black. And I do understand that. But golly jeepers, Maine? I just... So anyway, now that we've spent 3 minutes talking about that, there is very little to go on, other than that she ground her teeth, and that she probably, if she did have dental work, had it outside the country. Again, aged 13 to 21. All they found was her head wrapped in seaweed, her skull. They did do a reconstruction. NCMEC did, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. If you have any information in the case, and unfortunately, boy, I wish I had more, I will say this. She might have been killed by someone within her community, if she was a refugee, which is possible. or an immigrant in some other way, because it's likely, as an African American, even in southern Maine, she probably wasn't born there. There's the population of African American individuals in Maine up until they brought the Somali refugees up there and resettled them there was almost unheard of. So she very likely was not born there. She may have been, because she was in the southern coastal region. She may have been born in Portland, or, you know, Auburn, Lewiston. That's definitely possible, more possible than further north. Where a lot of the Somalis were settled was further north, kind of in the middle of Maine, above the coastal vacation region. And I put that in quotes because we vacationed up further north, because that's where my family was. So, yeah. And that's where the Somalis were settled, not so much on the coast. So either she came from further north and was dumped there, but where's the rest of her is the other question. We only have a skull. Is the rest of her still in the water? Is the rest of her in another location? And why? Okay, this also leads to the fact that the people who, or person who disposed of her remains was not familiar with the area, was not familiar with Maine, and just thought water, throw her in water, you know, she'll go bye-bye. Because if you're familiar with Maine, you know that there's a giant state forest in the smack dab center of Maine called the Allagash. And if you dump someone out there, chances are, even though the Maine State Warden Service is one of the best in the country, certainly at tracking, if they don't know they're looking for someone and you've buried them out in the middle of the Allagash, guess what? They're probably not going to be found. And if you're not from there, you might not even think about that. You know, if you were a murderer from Maine, you might think, although you might not want to take the chance of driving up there, depending on where she was killed. Because I don't think she was killed in Biddeford. I just don't. I think she was killed somewhere else and transported there. These are just my opinions and my opinions alone. Let me know what you think. And I sure wish I had more information. Like I said, I'm familiar with the Somali resettlement situation because I have family up there, and I know they were resettled further north. I also know the people up there weren't too hospitable about it. I'm not laughing because I approve. I don't approve of the inhospitability, but I'm also not surprised, which is why I'm kind of chuckling at the inhospitability. You got to remember, these are people who've been up there for a zillion generations, who don't want these people, regardless of what color they are, coming in and, in their mind, stealing what is theirs ancestrally. So, anyway. So, I'm going to give you the phone numbers because unfortunately that's all I have. You can call 1-800-THE-LOST, which is NCMEC, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Again, that's 1-800-THE, T-H-E, LOST, L-O-S-T. Or the Maine Office of the Chief Medical Examiner at 207-624-7180. Or the Maine State Police Detective Corporal Michael Chavez, 207-624-7076. Again, 207-624-7076. And there are very, very few, if any, unidentifieds in Maine. In fact, the one that was on the books for years and years, it was found floating in the water, he was finally identified. So finding an unidentified in Maine is nearly impossible. So, and she was a child, or a teenager, aged 13 to 21. She was most likely killed by someone she knew, because she wasn't reported missing. And it is possible that she wasn't reported missing because of the inhospitability of some of the locals, natives to Maine. So, and understand, my family's from Maine. I love my family. The grand old state of Maine is a place that I truly love and love to go there. But I'm someone who, I don't even know how many generations back, well, before Maine became a state, let's put it that way, when it was still part of Massachusetts, it was part of me. So, I don't approve, like I said, of the inhospitability of some people. I'm sure they keep it to themselves for the most part, that they're not happy that the government put those people there. I think the government thought that it would be a good place to put them because, well, there's a lot of open space, so there's a lot of place to put someone. It's more sparsely populated. But at the same time, these people are from, as I said at the beginning of the show, sub-Saharan Africa. And you're going to put them where? To freeze them to death? It's, to me, if you're not prepared for that, which these people weren't prepared for that, it's not right. But I understand, like I said, why it was done. Sparsely populated, plenty of room to house these people because it was sparsely populated. And two, because the southern United States has a history of severe racism. So they figured these people would be in a lot more trouble in the South, a lot safer in the North. Probably true. But you could have gone a little less far north. Just saying. Let me know what you think. And I know I've talked that part to death, but I didn't have a whole lot more to talk about, unfortunately, in this case. God bless you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I will see you Monday for the case of, let's see if I can read it. Oh my goodness. I can't read it. Oh, the Fernald School here in Massachusetts. Sorry, I can't read my own handwriting, especially from a distance. God bless you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Please subscribe. We're trying to get to 500 by the 4th of July. The ultimate goal is to make it to 1,000 by the end of the year so that we may go live. And I'm already working on updates for July since I didn't have any for June. So, bye guys. God bless you.